Good afternoon, everyone. This is an update on the tropics for November 5th, 2022. We have a new tropical disturbance, multiple tropical disturbances currently in the Atlantic that could form into Tropical Storm Nicole that we have to watch over the next several days, and especially what Florida has to watch over the next week or so. As we get right into it here, this is the satellite imagery. As you can see, as of this early afternoon, we have a big tropical wave here just south of Puerto Rico, just in that kind of area right there. You can see a lot of thunderstorm activity that Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands is seeing right now within that tropical wave. We also have a tropical wave up here east of Bermuda, and this also has a chance of development, a lower chance of development, but we saw a hurricane this far north, so I wouldn't be surprised if that does develop into a tropical storm. And as we look at the National Hurricane Center 5-day graphical tropical weather outlook, we do have the disturbance that we are mainly going to be looking at today. It has a 70% chance of a cyclone formation in 5 days, which is quite a high chance of development, which means we might see that tropical storm Nicole as soon as mid of next week. So definitely have to watch that very closely. In Florida, the Bahamas, Turks and Caicos also need to watch this closely as this goes into this area development over the next couple of days. And currently that central area right now of that circulation is currently just south of the Dominican Republic, just kind of off the southern coast. As you can see, remnants of Lisa right now in the Gulf of Mexico, and that is pretty much just going to die off in the Gulf of Mexico right now. We have that disturbance that is also east of Bermuda that has a 50% chance, so kind of a 50-50 chance we might see this develop into a tropical storm. But the main concern again right now is going to be the area in red, especially Florida. The Bahamas need to watch closely, and we're going to give you those possibilities as we look at the models. Here's the GFS model, which has had a lot of confidence in these two disturbances developing. We're going to be moving forward here throughout this weekend, and as we get to about Sunday at 12 p.m. you can see this really appears north of Puerto Rico, north of Dominican Republic, just northeast of the Turks and Caicos, and just east of the Bahamas. As you can see, they have a lot of convection, especially right near the center. Definitely quite a low pressure there, 1001 millibars, and that is definitely a good amount of circulation. That could even get it to a tropical depression by then. As we move forward here, this generally just continues to pick up a lot of circulation here. As you can see, that pressure continues to drop as we head throughout Tuesday morning. This really gets together, possibly a tropical storm by then. According to the GFS model, we're also going to be looking at more models to see if it has the same opinion as GFS. As you can see, possibly a strong tropical storm headed towards Florida, possibly by late next week. And this is going to bring possibly a lot of rainfall, a lot of flooding to Florida, even Bahamas. Right now, this is not pinpointed. This is not a forecast or anything right now. This is just a possibility. And this is, a lot of these models are actually leading the system into Florida. We just don't know as of right now the strength of what this is going to be. This might be a strong tropical storm. This might be just kind of a weak tropical system moving through, bringing some rainfall and some gusty winds. So definitely have to watch that very closely. That even heads up into the northeast, which could also bring a lot of rainfall and heavier winds to the United States. So this is the next big storm that we are looking at for late next week. As we look at the European model, as you can see, definitely shows up with that just north of the Dominican Republic. Doesn't really have much tropical storm development, but definitely brings a lot of rainfall to Florida, brings a lot of winds to Florida as well, and doesn't really curve up like the GFS model into the northeast. And as we look at the CMC model here, CMC model has making it as a tropical storm here as soon as late next week, around Thursday. Again, some of these models definitely have this making it as a tropical storm, as we just saw two hurricanes in the Atlantic. So I definitely wouldn't be surprised if we do see tropical storm Nicole late next week from this disturbance here. As you can see, icon model, we're going to be moving forward if this will load properly. As you can see, definitely has a little bit of development at the end, right when it's about to make impacts to Florida around Thursday. It does make it to a tropical storm strength. So again, right now, tropical storm Nicole to me is looking likely here, especially just east of the Bahamas, as it continues its gradual development throughout next week. Next week, I'm going to be posting a lot of these videos daily around 2 p.m. Central Daylight Time, bringing you these updates on this tropical disturbance. Right now, we don't have a ton of details. Well, as you can see a lot of these models are trending towards this tropical storm, possibly bringing those tropical storm impacts to Florida, which Florida has already got a tropical storm Alex, major hurricane Ian, possibly even another triple tropical system here headed into Florida late next week that, again, we have to very closely watch, as this could also be a little bit of a hurricane if those conditions aren't going to be good for this environment that it is going to be entering here. Now, looking at wind shear values, as you can see, which some of these models don't really notice, is the wind shear. And this wind shear tears these storms apart like crazy. And as you can see, right now we are seeing about 50 knots of wind shear up here, and pretty much protecting the East Coast and the Gulf Coast from any storms right now. And as you can see, I feel a lot less wind shear down here in the Caribbean, which is why that is having a good time developing just south of Puerto Rico. Again, this is going to be making a track kind of like this into the East Coast here by late next week, possibly becoming that tropical storm. Don't think it's going to be a hurricane right now, but have to watch it closely throughout the next several days as we get some of the more of that info coming in from those models. Right now, definitely has a decent amount of vorticity with that. And shear tendency, as you can see, definitely has a lot of shear around the area, which definitely will keep it down in that weak tropical storm strength. Might have a chance of becoming a strong tropical storm, but definitely a lot of the shears protecting Florida and the East Coast and the Gulf Coast from any other major hurricanes. As we look at here on air layer for dry air, as you can see, we are seeing some very moist air in this area. It's definitely not going to have a problem at all gathering a lot of that moisture and warm waters in this area. A lot of this dry air is staying up north, just kind of north of the Bahamas. So it's definitely going to have a big chance of developing. The only threat to it is that wind shear. Again, that's going to be ahead of it right here. Kind of a big blob of wind shear that's going to have to head through, which will prevent it from becoming a hurricane for right now. But again, shear can weaken, shear can strengthen over time in a very quick amount of time. So we have to keep you updated here with those latest tracks and latest wind shear values, because again, those values can change very quickly, and possibly at last minute notice we could have a hurricane heading towards Florida. So make sure to stay tuned for more updates like this. Again, this could be Tropical Storm Nicole. Right now a hurricane is not likely, but a tropical storm development is definitely possible here within the next several days, especially late next week. But subscribe to the channel for more updates. Turn those post notifications on once you subscribe, so you won't miss a single update or live stream. Like the video, share this video with any friends or family that do live in these areas that might want those updates from this new disturbance in the Atlantic. As always, I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe.